Tomorrow night at 7:30 at the Crescent Arts Centre, the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra will present a concert that features the music of Glenn Buer, Arvo Pärt, and Aaron Copeland. Leading the MCO for tomorrow night's concert will be the renowned conductor Tania Miller, who has just been named the artistic director of the Brought Music Festival in Hamilton. And the concert will also feature the star cellist Ariel Barnes in a world premiere performance of a new cello concerto written by Canadian composer Glenn Buer. And joining me here in the Classic 107 studio, I am joined by Ariel Barnes and Tania Miller. Hi, Tania, and hi, Ariel. It's nice to have you here.
Hello.
Hi, Chris.
Tania, I want to first congratulate you on being named the first, or I should say the artistic director of the Brought Festival. Boris Brought himself was an institution. How does it feel to be taking over the reins of such a fantastic organization?
Boris Brought, created the Brought Festival over the course of 36 years. So it is extraordinary to take something that has developed within Canada over such a long time period. What I'm so excited about is the National Academy Orchestra is there, Brought Opera, which serves young singers across Canada. And so there's a sense for me that there's a real opportunity to influence the young talent of Canada. And also I love the model that they have working with mentors, again, from all across Canada, professionals that inspire these people, and we all kind of join together to create beautiful Canadian music together.
Yeah, it's an excellent organization. And Ariel, it's so nice to have you back here in our Classic 107 studios. I first want to ask, how many times is this for you performing with the MCO, and what keeps you coming back?
This is my fourth time here. First in 2015, then 2017, 2020, and now 2023. What keeps me coming back is, first of all, the wonderful intimacy of the organization. I really love the way people interact here and the philosophy that they employ when it comes to making music and connecting with audiences. I find extremely sincere. There's a really great range of programming that exists here, from presenting sort of seminal classics. I mean, my first performance here was of Haydn's D major cello concerto, which is really one of the classic concertos in literature, of course. And then I've returned to pair Haydn concerti with contemporary Canadian works from Michael Osterley, or giving the world premiere of Marcus Goddard's work alongside Tchaikovsky Rococo Variations, and the ability or the opportunity to engage in playing works from such disparate time periods in the canon is not so often there. And the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra has believed in that and often brought those ideas to me, which I've really appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tania, you've conducted the MCO before. When was the last time you were here? And do you have any memories of the last time you conducted the orchestra?
I've been here a couple of times before. I think the last time I was here was in 2017 or 2018. I'm not quite sure. But I also feel very strong memories of it, simply for the intimacy of the relationship that the musicians have with each other, how we share music on the stage. There's a sense that we are all artists, and that everybody's perspective and artistry is employed and appreciated, and that we all kind of share in the experience. But I also absolutely adore the audiences of the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra. They are a loyal audience. They're so intensely interested in how they listen. They are truly interested in hearing new music and exploring new ideas. And I just love that sense of openness and vibrancy that comes from people gathering around a group of musicians that want to explore.
Yeah, absolutely.
That resonates a lot with me, Tania.
Yeah. Tomorrow night, Ariel, you're going to be performing this brand new cello concerto written by Glenn Buer, his second cello concerto called Seven Couplets. This is a piece that was commissioned by the MCO and the Manitoba Arts Council. Did Glenn consult with you while he was composing the piece? And if so, did you have any specific things that you wanted Glenn to showcase in your playing?
Well, great question. Indeed, we consulted with each other throughout the composition of the work. I certainly didn't ask Glenn to showcase anything about my playing personally. The idea really was there to write a cello concerto or create a cello concerto based on the brilliance of Glenn's work that I have been so inspired by over the years. Mm-hmm. The inception of the work comes from actually me performing a chamber orchestra work of his with the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra called This is the Murmur of Yearning, which is a 3.5-minute work that spans the emotional impressions from an individual throughout all 4 seasons of the year. Okay, and the idea was that he was supposed to write music for an animated short before he saw the animation, so the music comes first. I heard this, I was playing this work, and it inspired me to approach him and ask him if he would write the first 4 seasons cello concerto to ever exist based on this material, so to extrapolate on this beautiful miniature. That's where the idea began. And it ended up going in a completely different direction because he was inspired by something else that was really captivating him in his life at that time, which was actually a wonderful turn in the creation of the work. And he's been sending me material over the course of the past couple of years and sharing those ideas with me and allowing me to absorb them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the title of the concerto is 7 couplets. What does it refer to? And can you describe the piece? What's it like?
Sure.
Compare it.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ideas packed into the work, so I try to keep it succinct. So the couplets are really based on the idea of rhythmic speech or poetic rhythms, specifically that of iambic pentameter, which one finds often in the works of Shakespeare. And Glenn's wife is a novelist and a writer, and so they were sort of collaborating and sort of developing these ideas as he was translating them into sort of pure music without text. But it was also Glenn's also a songwriter and a guitar player. He has his own rock band.
Yeah.
And
great jazz musician as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the incredibly diverse musician and extremely skilled. And so he was sort of like musing on a particular Shakespearean phrase that was on the wall of a cottage, I believe, that they were sort of retreating at. And then he took his guitar down to the beach and ended up writing a song to that particular couplet. And that's how the idea ended up unfolding, to base this work on this couplet, because that's what was captivating him. And so what he's done is he's presented the very first couplet base with a structure of iambic pentameter rhythms, and then he's created a large-scale palindrome. So there's a huge mirror image in the work.
Cool.
Right? And so the first couplet happens at the beginning of the work, or the first half of the first couplet, then the second half is at the very end. Then the second one is the second in the work, and then the second to last, so to speak. Yeah. And in the middle, there's a cadenza, which is in itself palindromic, an absolute mirror image of itself. Incidentally, the cadenza is also inspired by the work of another Canadian composer that Tania and I both love, Michael Osterley, whose concerto I played with the MCO in 2017 and we recorded. So there's a lot of connections here with the history of the MCO. Glenn himself, composers that have been connected with the organization in this work. So it's a large-scale palindromic work based on poetic rhythmic speech patterns.
And if I might just jump in, it's just beautiful music. I mean, it sings. He's constantly talking about singing. And of course, Ariel sings so beautifully with his cello. And so it's a piece, I think, that is very much something we immediately understand the in, and then all of the couplets unfold the feeling of the song.
And sort of tying into this whole Manitoba Chamber Orchestra Glenn Buhr thing, you're also going to be performing in Gloriam, right? Again, commissioned for the MCO back in 2000. When did you become aware of this piece, and what do you like about performing it?
Well, that's a good question. What I love about performing it is based on song. It is about song. And the cello was made to sing, was built to sing, and has evolved that way over the past centuries. So it suits the instrument so unbelievably well. Sure. I find anyway.
Absolutely.
And there's such a refined approach to the accompaniment that he offers to the solo voice, I find. I learned about the work after commissioning Glenn to write a cello and harp duo with my duo Couloir back in 2010. Then we recorded the work in 2011, and I started to get exposed to his music more. I just kind of, at one point came across it and thought, this is just stunningly gorgeous. And right up my alley. Reminded me of the music of Jocelyn Morlock, whose music I absolutely love and have made a lot of. In the way that he understood the instrument and the principal voice of the instrument. And then I was scheduled to play it in Vancouver in 2016 with Bramwell Tovey, who is a great friend and mentor to actually both Tania and I, and to Glenn. And I was injured. I couldn't play it. About a week before the performance, I had to back out. I had a nerve issue. And Paul Marlane, the man who gave the premiere, came to play. So that kind of fell out and slipped between my fingers, although I was super happy that Paul could come and offer the performance. So here I am for the first time with Tania, who is also deeply connected to Bramwell and knows Glenn, and it's just all making sense, and it's wonderful to have the opportunity to do
comes
this.
back to Winnipeg. Bramwell, of course, being the conductor of the WSO.
Yeah.
Tania, when you're conducting these two pieces by Glenn Buhr, is there anything in his music that, as a conductor, you've got to be particularly aware of when you're leading the orchestra?
I think it's one of those pieces that can be very tricky because it's so beautifully simplistic in that every note counts. And he has this way of layering in sounds so that there's a feeling that there's an echo or a resonant that goes beyond the initial impetus or the initial notes played by Ariel. So when everybody's playing slightly at different times, there is this beautiful sense of it all melding and emerging from within itself. And that beauty is, it's got to be controlled in a way where we're at once listening and feeling the energy of it, but also connecting it all. And I find that to be the most important part. I want to be the conduit for Ariel and his singing through his cello, and just find a way to make his every gesture clear for the orchestra. And I feel that every gesture really is very meaningful in Glenn's music.
Sure.
Indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. You're also going to be doing Arvo Pärt's Fratres. There's several versions of this piece, and there's several versions that could be played by the MCO. There's one for strings and percussion, there's one for chamber orchestra, and there's one version for various sizes of cello ensemble. Which one are you going to be doing tomorrow night?
We're doing the work that is written for string orchestra and percussion. It's an incredible experience to be a part of Arvo Pärt's music. In fact, even when we were rehearsing it, we discussed together how we change over the course of performing the work. You start a certain way, and by the time you're done, you've kind of felt life in a different way. Your awareness has changed. It just the way you feel has changed. His work it means brothers, and it really comes through at this time. In the world that we're in, at this moment, it feels particularly beautiful to play his music.
Yeah, it's hypnotic and it's just a stunning work. I have to turn to the Copland. We were talking off air. It is one of my all-time favorite pieces. You're going to be playing the original version.
Right.
Can you talk about what the orchestra is going to look like tomorrow night?
Yeah, so the original version is for double violins, viola, etc. So a small group of strings, total of 13 instruments. But Copland allows for us to expand the string section. So tomorrow night you'll hear a small string group, the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra string group, as well as a clarinet, bassoon, and flute, all of them with gorgeous solos, and then a piano also. Gorgeous solos.
Yeah, it's going to be great. There's a wonderful production on YouTube from 1958 with Martha Graham's original choreography. I have to ask, have you seen the ballet? And if you have seen the ballet, does it affect how you conduct the orchestra and interpret the music?
You know, I have seen the ballet, and it's so wonderful to see it. And what I find incredible about Copland's music is that he finds the essence of feeling, and it sort of transcends a specific story. You know, he actually wrote this ballet. Martha had a variety of different ideas of what she wanted it to be about, and he just went ahead and wrote the piece, and then the ideas changed, the story sort of changed. For instance, there's a train inside this music. You can hear the train. You know the train is there, but why is it there? It's not a part of the story. And that was because it was written before Martha really defined the final story. But what is the essence of the story? That's the part that has always stayed the same. She always wanted it to be about the American pioneer spirit, about starting out, about newness, about hope, about love. Also, there's a sense of real sadness sometimes, or nostalgia, or just gratitude. That I think resonates in all of us. And that's why when we listen to this piece, it doesn't matter when we listen to it in our lives, somehow it touches us in that moment. And that's what great music always does.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Whenever I think of Copeland, one of the things that I always think about is his rhythms. He can be incredibly rhythmically intricate. I'm not only thinking about Appalachian Spring, but like the El Salon, Mexico, the Third Symphony, etc. Do you have any tricks when you're working with ensembles and you don't have a lot of rehearsal time to sort of put these polyrhythms together?
It's always, Appalachian Spring is always very challenging and tricky when we first put it together. And not just in the spots you would think that are rhythmic, but also sometimes in the spacious spots that seem very naked and all alone. What do I think the main thing is just to feel the dance together.
Right.
And often he gives us the indication of how to phrase by the way he puts accents or the way he puts the mixed meters. And that shows us how to make the music. And then, we use our musical skills to make sure we're not rushing or doing these sorts of things, but otherwise we let go into the dance of what he has written. And that is, for me, the trick.
Yeah, fantastic. Tania and Ariel, this has just been so great to have you here and talk about tomorrow night's concert. Thanks for taking the time to stop by and talk to me today. This has just been fabulous.
Yeah, our pleasure, Chris.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
For our Classic 107 listeners, the concert with the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra and Ariel Barnes and Tania Miller takes place at 7:30 at the Crescent Arts Center. For more details, go to classic107.com. Tania and Ariel, thanks again.